Hi, MF is back here. Movies are always a great source of inspiration for me, and today's movie is one of my favorites, The Edge, starring Anthony Hopkins and Alec Baldwin. On the surface, it is a survival story. Two men stranded in the wilderness, facing cold, isolation, uncertainty, and a terrifying bear. But for me, the real story goes much deeper. It is about trust. Trust built through credibility, consistency, honesty, and respect. Trust that gradually transforms fear into confidence, and confidence into courage. And there is one unforgettable moment in this movie that captures this perfectly. Because when everything else disappears, comfort, security, even certainty, you discover something powerful. Trust is earned. And when trust is earned, courage is multiplied. Imagine being stranded in the Alaskan wilderness after a plane crash. No familiar environment, no easy escape, no certainty about what happens next, and the person beside you is someone you may not completely trust. That is where The Edge begins its deeper lesson. At first, these two men don't cooperate because they have suddenly become friends. They cooperate because survival demands it. But necessity creates an opportunity. Every shared decision, every difficult step, and every moment of vulnerability begins revealing character. And this is important. Trust rarely begins as complete trust. Sometimes it begins with one simple question. Can I depend on you for the next step? Then another step follows, and another. Eventually, survival creates something stronger than necessity. A bond built through experience. Here is where the movie gives us a lesson that goes far beyond the wilderness. Trust is not what you say. Trust is what you repeatedly do. When conditions become difficult, words lose their power very quickly. People start watching actions. Can you remain calm when others panic? Can you keep your word when keeping it becomes difficult? Can someone depend on you when there is a real price to pay? Step by step, decision by decision, trust is built. And this applies everywhere, in leadership, friendship, family, teams, and life. Credibility may open the door, but consistency keeps it open. Because people don't truly trust our intentions, they eventually trust the pattern of our behavior. That is why trust cannot simply be requested. It has to be earned through actions. Then comes one of the most powerful moments in The Edge. I really love this part. Facing what seems impossible, Charles declares, "We're going to kill the bear." And then comes the line that stayed with me. What one man can do, another can do. I don't hear this simply as motivation. I hear trust. Trust in human strength, trust in potential, and most importantly, trust in another person's ability to rise beyond fear. Sometimes courage doesn't begin because fear disappears. It begins because somebody believes in us strongly enough that we start believing in ourselves. The bear, in that moment, represents more than physical danger. It represents the impossible challenge standing in front of us. And trust changes the question from can we to why not us? But there is another important dimension to trust. It cannot remain one-sided forever. In The Edge, trust develops through shared danger. It is tested when circumstances become difficult, strengthened through dependence, and ultimately proven through loyalty. And once genuine trust exists, something changes between people. It becomes mutual. You stop calculating every action. You stop questioning every intention. You know the other person will be there when it matters. That is when trust becomes incredibly resilient. And I think this is true far beyond this movie. The strongest relationships, leadership teams, friendships, and partnerships are not held together simply by agreement. They are held together by accumulated evidence that says, I can depend on you, and you can depend on me. That is the power of mutual trust. So, what did The Edge inspire in me? A simple but powerful lesson. Trust may be one of the greatest survival forces we have. In the wilderness, these men lose almost everything that normally creates security. Yet through trust, they discover strength. Trust builds credibility. Credibility creates confidence. Confidence makes courage possible. And courage allows human beings to confront things they once believed were impossible. That is why this movie stays with me, because all of us will eventually face our own wilderness and our own bear. Not literally, but through uncertainty, setbacks, fear, and difficult moments. And sometimes what helps us overcome them is knowing someone believes in us. Thank you all for watching. This video was inspired by highlights I shared in my book, Inspire You, where I explore how inspiration can come from everywhere, from people, experiences, challenges, and even unforgettable moments in movies. The Edge reminds me that trust is earned through actions, strengthened through consistency, and transformed into courage when we need it most. That is why I believe we should never simply watch life. We should look deeper, reflect, and discover the inspiration within it. If this video inspired you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Inspired by Maan Studio, where we transform everyday ideas into lasting inspiration. See you next time. Ciao.